Hello, everybody. It is your boy, Phoenix Coffin Williams, and I am coming to you from the now cold and rainy and damp Buffalo, New York. Um, it is that time of week again. We are here for another little ditty of Fridays with Phoenix. I do want to take a moment and thank the folks who have been joining me every morning for the past couple of days for some morning devotionals and a morning invocation to our higher self. That is a really important practice, and it is an essential practice from a Corellian perspective. And for those of you who are interested in ongoing work, spirit work specifically, uh, invoking spirits, helping spirits move on, dealing with earthbound spirits, demons, saints, archangels, all of that. If you want to be really good and effective in that art and in that science, I absolutely do recommend that um, addressing and invoking and aligning yourself with your higher self every day is going to be one of those things that absolutely helps you. And it'll help you in other parts of your life as well. Hey there in the chat, Corey, Judy, how you doing? Greetings to you, and thanks for being here. As I've been saying throughout this week, our higher self is the part of us that is divine and that exists in that place that we call the higher planes or the upper planes of existence. Um, our higher self is comparable to any divinity in any pantheon. So, depending on where you find yourself, depending on how you pray and how you practice, your higher self, the thing that you were born with, that divinity that is you, it is comparable to any other spirit in any pantheon, comparable to Inanna, comparable to Isis, comparable to Ra, comparable to Zeus, comparable to Ares, comparable to Helios. That is how high our higher self is. And each and every last one of us has one. And no one can take away that connection. No one can remove that higher self from you. Now, I know that there are some traditions and some situations and some fear mongering that's happening in certain aspects of the spiritual um, community. That discusses that some teachers, some initiates can take your higher self from you or can capture your guardian angel. It's not really a thing. And stories like that and beliefs like that are literal tricks that are meant to help us recognize an eternal and an immortal truth. We are always and ever connected to divinity. But with that being said, the real thing that I have been wanting to talk about and have been like moving towards probably for a couple of months now is the discussion of the cosmology and where the various spirits kind of belong or emanate from, or um, how we view them from a Corellian perspective. In Corellianism, we believe in the seven planes of existence, and the physical plane is the one that is the most dense, it is the most physical, it is the one where matter really kind of does its final thing. And everything that has its origin in any of the other six planes of existence has its final manifestation in the physical realm. And so, what this means is that a house has a physical emanation, and it has an astral, and it has a mental, and it has an emotional, and it has a monadic, and a solar and a divine emanation. A tree has a physical, has an astral, has a mental, has an emotional, has a solar, has a monadic, has a divine emanation. Every single thing that exists in all seven planes of existence. That is true for us. That is true for the computer that I'm broadcasting to you from. That is true for everything. When we think about the energy of the universe and the interaction with the physical plane, sometimes, and this is through the function of the veil, sometimes we mistake a physical emanation for something as the thing in its entirety. But really, the physical emanation is what we are able to perceive with our physical eyes. The astral emanation is what we are able to perceive with our astral eyes or our astral senses, and so on and so forth. And part of the work or the great work is learning to recognize and use all of the senses that we have from every plane that we are existing on. Remembering the complete and total fullness of our divinity. That's the great work. And that is what magic helps us do. And that is what psychism helps us do. It helps us recognize and utilize all of our faculties from across the planes of existence or the dimensions. So if you want to talk about fourth and fifth dimensions, we exist in those dimensions too, and we have senses in those dimensions too. And part of the great work is learning to use those senses in those dimensions to increase our own awareness of our own divinity. And that is boiled up in the maxim, know thyself. Now, that's only part of the maxim, and that was the part that the Greeks remember. But there is more to that maxim, know thyself. And I'll talk about that moving forward a little bit. But when it comes to the spirit, the energetic constructs in Earth, in the physical realm, this is a construct. When we pass away from our physical bodies and we have this total substance in the astral and in the mental and emotional and so on and so forth, what is that substance that gives us form in the astral plane? Some people think of it as a type of ectoplasm or something like that. But in that plane of existence, it is the like that substance that gives form to ideas and concepts and so on and so forth. And so what would an earthbound spirit without a physical body but still held together by astral substance and mental substance and emotional substance and solar substance and monadic substance and divine substance, what would that appear like in the astral form? Folks across time and space have done the best that they could to give us some way of recognizing these beings. They've put descriptions in mythologies and scriptures and stories and legends. A chimera type of creature that exists. Like we don't see them walking around. So that means that it is an allegorical thing, one. So when it comes to our astral explorations and we run into a chimera or a sphinx or a griffin, we are looking at its astral substance. We are using our astral senses to see it. And what exactly does it mean when we encounter a sphinx, a griffin, or a chimera. Other examples might include a wraith, relatives who have passed away but who didn't get the appropriate burials. So now they are bound to the earth, unable to move on of their own accord without some kind of spiritual intervention. What do they look like? What does their astral substance do to maintain their form? One of the classifications that I wanted to talk about in particular today is what is commonly known as a monitoring spirit. Monitoring spirits exist on every plane of existence. And they do exactly what it sounds like they do. They monitor, they watch, they surveil, maybe gather information, gather data about what you do. And because it exists, we know that it has a purpose in the divine will. And sometimes the data gathered, the information gathered, the surveillance gathered by monitored spirits are utilized in ways that we are not completely comfortable with. Maybe you live in a community where there's a lot of politics in your magical community, and another practitioner has formed a thought form or has even called upon a spiritual entity to watch you and report back. It's a monitoring spirit. Maybe your partner's ex boo thing has gotten one of their friends to follow you on all your social media. Check out all the stuff that you're posting, all the pictures that you're posting, all the videos that you're posting, and they got this friend reporting back. What is my boo doing with their new thing? Additionally, aside from the nosy neighbor monitoring spirits or the people in your community who just kind of like check in on you or watch what you're doing and then maybe have conversations about what they saw, in their own little circles. The thing about monitoring spirits is that they don't actually contribute anything, but they do take a lot. They take the information that they get about you and they use it for their own purpose because again, monitoring spirits also have their own karmic debt to pay off. They have their own karmic chains to work on. Monitoring spirits have their own agenda, just like spirit guides, just like archangels, just like gods, just like demons. And monitoring is how they go about getting those agendas met. If you wanted to maintain what's going on in the chat? Okay, your surrounding you can. Yeah. So I think Corey is referring to monitoring spirits. Me and my granddaughter had an encounter with Reverend Mary Hawk. Oh, I know Reverend Mary Hawk. Oh, yeah. Cord cuttings. All right. So in the chat, if you watch it in the chat, somebody named Corey Judy is engaging in the conversation about monitoring spirits and like how you can recognize them and what their forms are. Um, and did mention a type of ritual that has become like very pop culture nowadays called the cord cutting. Cord cutting ritual is meant to help cut the cords from any spiritual activities or entities that might be attached to you, or cut the cords from any activities, behaviors, patterns that are keeping you like stuck or bound. And yeah, cord cutting is one way that you could attempt to deal with a monitoring spirit if the monitoring spirit is attached to you in some way. I do say, unfortunately, people are like real quick to just be like, do a cord cutting, because they saw like some witch have a pretty cord cutting like on TikToks or Instagrams or what have you. And so then like everybody want to do a cord cutting. You don't need a cord cutting for everything. Sometimes a cord cutting is not even appropriate for whatever it is that you are going through in your life. However, if you are attached to a monitoring spirit, if you got into a relationship with someone and you formed a tie, and now they always checking up on you and putting your business out in the street, using the information about you in ways that you don't like, then yeah, a cord cutting might be super duper beneficial. Um, but I will say, when it comes to working with monitoring spirits, whether they are manifesting in your life as haters and people who want to talk about you, or if they're manifesting in your life as shadows that make you feel uncomfortable when you're walking about your day. No matter what it is, if you live in a cosmology where monitoring spirits can check in on you, keep track of you, and report back to, whatever it is for their own karmic purposes, then one of the things that you're wanting to do right up front is do that shielding and setting appropriate boundaries. Do you know how to block access to yourself, your being, your agency from the viewing or prying eyes of monitoring spirits? Back in the day, in my youth, I wrote a spell to blind the evil eye because I did not want it looking at me. So I created a spell and I washed it over my aura and over my shield, that whenever the evil eye was cast upon me, it was blinded immediately. That same concept you can use when it comes to the monitoring spirits they may be viewing you. Because at the end of the day, you cannot control who or what is attracted to you based on how you live in your divinity. You cannot control who falls in love with you. You cannot control who looks at you and thinks that you are everything. You cannot control who looks at you and feels insecure. You cannot control who listens to you speak and starts to feel inferior. You cannot control any of those things. The only thing that you can do is the best that you can. And that does leave all of us open for these experiences with monitoring spirits who are just looking on, being nosy, trying to use that information for their own karmic gain. You can charge your shield to blind any monitoring spirits. You can charge your shield to reflect something back to any monitoring spirits. So anything that is looking upon you and is not trying to look at you for the sake of assessing a way to help you or to contribute to your highest good, they cannot find you, or they see something that is unhelpful or grotesque or scary or triggering. Those are two things that you can do to manage the attention of monitoring spirits. Um, One of the other things that you can do is you can encode your experiences in the form of affirmations. You can dictate or determine your day in terms of affirmations. I am invisible to the sights of those who would harm me, disenfranchise me, misrepresent me. I move confidently, freely, and invisibly to all those that are not aligned with my highest good. Really, you can't see me if you're not for me, is one of the ways that you can manage your experiences with monitoring spirits. Gifts that people give you can have monitoring spirits attached to them, which is why we say cleanse and bless everything that comes into your home. Even if it was given to you by someone that you love and you trust, no matter what, you give it a cleanse, you give it a blessing. That way, anything that was impressed upon it is washed away, and you have now charged it to be for your highest good and only your highest good. So, yes, people can give you gifts that have monitoring spirits attached to them, bring it right into your home. Now it's in your house. Um, so yes, cleanse, bless, consecrate all the stuff that comes into your home. That way it's not used for any other purpose than what you intend. I hope you find that helpful and maybe spend some time thinking about the types of monitoring spirits that are already watching you. Maybe get into a meditation, ask your higher self to reveal them to you in a vision or a dream or an automatic writing. I've been talking about automatic writing like a lot today, actually. Um, or if you were a scryer, go ahead and take a look into that bucket of water, that bowl of water, and ask for a vision to reveal the monitoring spirits that are watching you. And from there, you can ask your higher self what to do about them. Do you blind them? Do you reflect them? Do you divert their gaze? Do you give them a dummy performance? At the end of the day, I'm always going to recommend shielding. Number one way to maintain your psychic hygiene, your own psychic and mental wellness. And then everything from there is just a matter of your own personality, how you manage the highs and the lows of your life. We do talk about the act of exercising very early on in Correllian studies. A lot earlier on than you might think. And I never asked directly, but I surmise that exorcism is actually a very basic power of the witch, a very basic ability of the clergy. And that the ability to exercise something and to render it clean where it was before unclean is really just the basic thing that we do with our hands or with our intentions. So I will leave you with that for now. Hopefully, this has been helpful. Please continue to join me for Fridays with Phoenix as we continue to talk about and illuminate the process of exorcism and understanding the role of the various spirits and classifications of spirits in our Correllian cosmology. Join me for daily higher self devotionals that help increase our magical ability and our psychic abilities. Um, Keep a lookout for some of the other stuff that's coming on down the line. Of course, Alyssa and myself, we do meet every single Monday for open chat. So if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, things that you want to talk about, excuse me, whether it be magical, whether it be cultural, whether it be about mental health, any of the things that we're collectively interested in, that can come up as a topic of conversation in our Monday night chats. We do have a wonderful announcement to make about the future of Lustrations and what's going to be happening with those. Very exciting. So yeah, check back with me tomorrow morning for a quick morning devotional, or maybe it'll be a longer morning devotional. Who knows? Um, and I will talk to y'all next Friday for another Friday with Phoenix. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Be good.